If you would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Born and unborn. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're after 8? No, we're not. This clock is still on daylight savings or something. Announcements. Excuse me. The town offices will be closed on Thursday, November 25th, and Friday, November 26th, in observance of Thanksgiving. And the Merrimack Transfer Station will also be closed on Thanksgiving Day. Upcoming town council meetings, Thursday, December 2nd, at 7 p.m. here in this room, a regular meeting, and Thursday, December 16th at 7 p.m. here in this room, also a regular meeting. Paul, did you have other announcements?
Yeah, I have one other announcement. It's exciting news. The tax rate's finally been set.
Oh, we're excited.
Yes.
That's not the exciting tax.
Oh,
It's $17.17. Property tax bills will be mailed on November 30th and are due December 30th. Tax bills amounts are posted on the online on the tax collector's kiosk for property owners who wish to see their bill prior to receiving it in the mail. In addition, the tax collector is currently accepting any payments. I am sorry that it's been so late. It's been a fight with DRA this year to get the tax rate set.
you tell us they only had 2 people that were doing it for the entire state or something.
That's what
like
it
that,
appeared to me, is like 2 people for the entire state, as well as talking to Tom this morning about it. They had to set all the county rates before they set the town rates, which is okay, but it never took this long to set county rates or even town rates. And there's been a lot of managers very upset with the process going forward. And they need to do something and look at it in a different light, to be perfectly honest with everybody. Once again, I am sorry for the lateness of the tax bills and being due. We wanted them to get due in this year, just in case people still take advantage on their Schedule A for the tax deduction for their tax bills. So if you want to come and pay, you can go online, look at how much you owe, come into the tax collector's office, write your check, pay your cash. They'll have it in front of you as much what you owe starting tomorrow. So thank you.
Okay, great. We have no, is there comments from the press and public? We have a 15-minute period right now. Lund?
I want just to remind people that the 1717 is only the town portion of the tax
No.
bill.
No, that is the
That's
total
the whole-
tax bill.
That's the whole tax rate.
I apologize for being in error.
Less than that.
Four something, yeah.
It's I believe it's like 368. I want to
Really,
say.
it's that far down?
Yeah,
with
with
the
that.
new
Well,
assessment?
the new assessment, we brought in a lot of money. We're almost up to $5 billion in assessed values in this town. Almost up to $5 billion. We're at $4,902,000.
Okay, so you all set? So comments from the press and public? Seeing nobody? We have no resignations, recognitions, or retirements for today. We have no appointments, and we have no public hearings for today. Legislative updates from state reps. I don't think I received anything. Did you?
I
see
did not
anything?
receive anything today.
I don't see any state reps here. Town managers report.
Thank you. Just one update, Woodbury Street sidewalk construction. As many of you know, they have finished the steep slopes by hydroseeding and installing matting. The stone check dams were installed to better control water flow. Stone riprap swales were completed along the south side of the road. Old curbing was removed on both sides of the road. The road was repaired as needed, and base pavement was installed. The contractor was able to complete a few items last week that was originally scheduled for this week, which is great news. The subcontractor was able to come in week early and install the guardrail by the school parking lot. Manhole and catch basin structures were replaced as needed, and they are raised in the road. So please be careful when you're on Woodbury Street and actually even going down McGall Street to the high school. There's a couple of raised structures.
They are painted as well.
They are painted, but don't be flying down the road because you're gonna hit them. Final payment, preparation for final payment was also completed. Last week, they began installing base gravel for the sidewalk and have installed the base coat of paving for the sidewalk this week. So as you go down, you'll actually see the sidewalk going down the hill. The new curbing is installed on both sides of the road, and the ditch line on the north side of the road has also been installed. Once work is complete, they will be able to install the final layer of pavement. The end of this project is quickly approaching. We want to thank everybody for their time and patience during this project. You can continue to expect road closures or alternating traffic or local-only traffic for the next week or so. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the town manager on his report? Seeing none, we'll move on. The consent agenda, we have one item on the consent agenda, but I would like to pull it off for discussion. If I could get a motion to pull the item off. Motion by Finley, seconded by Nancy, to pull the consent agenda item off of the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? That passes 7-0-0. Paul, we got some updated information from Matt.
Yes. Matt and I talked after the last meeting, and there are a couple of fields that we felt that if you rent them at 5 o'clock at night during the summer, stays light until 8, 9 o'clock, they don't have lights on them. So we had to look into that a little more. So basically what we did is I said, Matt, let's look at 4-hour blocks of time. So we used 4-hour blocks of time. For residents, it would be $50. For non-residents, it would be $75. Then we did 8 hours, 75 and 100, up to 12 hours, 100 and 150. And then we said there's a surcharge for using the lights on the field at $25 an hour. So I think that helps. It's less confusing than what it was. We do have groups that will use a field like Trudowski, or they want to come and rent Wasserman Park for something. So those don't have lights, so to charge, if they wanted to rent it like from 6 to 8, they'll still be paying a 4-hour block, but they won't be hit with a surcharge for lights.
Okay, are there any other questions? Lon? No?
Good solution.
So are we good with this? Do we want to move forward?
I'll make a motion
Okay,
to accept the proposed current fee charges as presented to rent athletic fields in Merrimack. That should be it.
yeah. Motion by Nancy Harrington, seconded by Barbara Healy, to accept the proposal from Matt Kasparius for new rental fees for the athletic fields in Merrimack. If there's no other discussion, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? That passes 7-0-0.
Thank you very much.
The next thing on our agenda under old business was the Flying Eagles Field Enhancement Project request. This was tabled at the November 4th Town Council meeting. After further review, we understand that they need to go before the Lower Merrimack River Advisory Committee, and I think they have to work with the Conservation Commission as well. So they'd like to, I guess, basically table it indefinitely until they can get information and reschedule it.
Should we
So
table
we-
it or just?
Paul?
We need to take it off the table.
Okay, so
Retable it.
it's tabled right now. We need a motion to take it off the table. Motion by Nancy Harrington, seconded by Nancy Murphy, to take it off the table for discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? That passes 7-0-0. Now, they have further work they need to do, and they're not prepared to move forward at this point. So I got a request to table it to our next meeting, but I think we want to table it till they have enough information and can reschedule it. Andy, do you have?
I'm just gonna bring up for everybody's awareness, they did come before the Conservation Commission this week. One of the pieces of information, if you can visualize the map that they had put up, there was the big area that they wanted to trim, and then there was the southern notch that was actually in the conservation. Somebody went and cleared those trees from that southern notch already. That was one of the things that was brought up at the Conservation Commission. Conservation Commission is trying to figure out how they were cleared, who cleared them. The trees were marked. There was some subcommittee members that were in there clearing some things that had been marked for something else. They don't know if there was confusion. Conservation Commission is looking into that. But most of that southern notch, not all of it, most of that has been cleared. So,
Prior to
prior
conservation
to,
approval.
yeah, prior to it even being presented at the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
Whoops.
So I guess at this point, I'm looking to just table this.
So moved.
Do you want to table it, or you want to just remove it from the agenda?
I would say until
Or
they're
just
ready.
remove it from the agenda until we can re-agenda it. That would be fine with me. Do we need a vote to do that, or?
No, because
We've already untabled it.
took it off the table.
So it's an active discussion right now.
It's an active discussion. If you don't make another motion,
It drops out.
it drops off. Basically, no action is inaction
Right.
of the town council, so I would say just make a motion, table it indefinitely until they
Without-
have their further information
That's
to come
different
back,
then.
until they request to be back on an agenda.
But that's not tabling.
You can just.
Well, I mean, you can table to a date certain, or you can just table it, but if you, I mean,
The table, it seems, I don't know.
typically the table means it doesn't come back up this year or something like that, but
Oh, okay.
if you just table it, it's done, but, go ahead.
As- You're right, table indefinitely, then it's going to have the same effect in my estimation as taking it off and just re-agenda, putting it back on a future agenda. What I want them to know, though, is if we table to a date certain, it would automatically show up on that agenda, where they would have to know that it takes a week. They'd have to be in with that, request before Friday, so we can make sure we can fit it in even. And so I would just want them to be aware of that, because it might prolong.
Which is why I'm afraid the second is gonna be a little bit too early, because I don't think they have a scheduled meeting with the Lower Merrimack Advisory Committee yet.
Right, and I
so-
think they're probably once a month at best.
So why don't we make a motion that to table until there is a response available from the committee that they need
Or until they're ready to
Isn't that,
to present the
present, which
results?
is,
isn't that considered indefinite?
well, see, that's the whole question. I don't know whether we should be tabling it or just dropping the item as a non-item and let them come back with a new item,
That's
with
what
a
I-
stipulation that they can do that. I mean,
I think if you want to make this as clean as possible, the town council moves to remove the item until the Flying Eagles repropose, resubmits and reproposes a plan to remove the trees from the property.
So moved.
Second.
Does that work for everyone?
The other thing I would add is.
Worked for Lon and
until
Barbara.
until the, after the review from the, whatever it is.
Well, yeah, they're
Yeah.
not gonna come back until after. I mean, we won't agenda it again until they
Okay,
can
so be it.
say
Okay.
they've done that, so.
Okay.
So there's a motion on the table and motion by Lon, seconded by Barbara to ask the
That's
Flying
basically
Eagles to come back
inactive.
when they've had a chance to clear up what they're gonna do with the
Right.
full plan,
Right.
Correct.
right?
Right.
All those if there's no other discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? That passes 7-0-0. Which brings us to New business, number one, computer CRF withdrawal request from, it's called the DocStar renewal, submitted by the IT coordinator, Jonathan Diaz. The town council to consider information technology's request to withdraw $12,558 from the computer capital reserve fund for the DocStar renewal. The DocStar system is utilized by town personnel as a scanning workflow platform to achieve all of the paper records, to archive, all of the paper records for personnel and town records for all of the departments.
So, just a little bit of background on this
come
information.
up here?
Jonathan, you can come up. This DocStar has been in place for longer than I've been with the town. So it's been in for more than 17 years. Every few years, we need to upgrade the DocStar because either we're running out of memory or something has happened with it. It's a very reliable system. It's a scanner system. To move away from the DocStar at this point, I'm stealing a little bit of Jonathan's thunder, but to move away from the DocStar at this point would almost be double the cost to get a new system in place. DocStar actually has put some enhancements in that once we get caught up with all our back issues of the software, that we would hope that we could take advantage of. Jonathan is here. He has more information on it. This was one of his first research projects that he used. It's used heavily in the tax collector's office and in human resource office. So a lot of our human resource files and our tax collector permanent records files are on the DocStar, so they're searchable. Jonathan, take it away.
So one of the things is,
Turn your mic on, please,
oh, there we go. Okay, we're good. Sorry about that.
and make it close enough that you can,
Yeah.
thank
All
you.
right, there we go. We're good now.
Good.
So the DocStar platform's used, like I said, for all the different departments. One of the things I realized in talking to the staff is that there seemed to be a gap in moving forward with this, and they hit some issues with, they would scan a file and it was not searchable properly. They were typing in manual keywords. One of the enhancements of the upgrade is it does OCR, which takes the characters and search strings out of the document when it scans it, so that you could just type in anything that's available in the document and make it usable, because we get a lot of requests for information from citizens and we can just go in and search. So that right now it's not functional in that manner. You have to know particulars like document numbers, department, ID, parcels, information that might be difficult for newer staff members coming on board here. So that's one of the things, and we'd just, have maintenance in the rear, bring it forward. I did research other platforms. I don't know how much anybody's familiar with technology, but DocStar is owned by Epicor, which is a large ERP company, so they have a lot of backing and support. And there's other things you can do with it. We probably wouldn't use some of the enhanced features here. We're just trying to get it functional so it does what it needs. It does have a lot of security protocols that are built into it that I did clean up. So, for example, some of the sensitive HR data, allows, controlled access. So that's good, personnel records and things of that nature. So.
Barbara?
So does it have role-based access?
It
Is your
does.
mic on?
Yep.
Is your mic on?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can tell, anyway. Any other questions? Finley?
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. The only thing I had a little heartburn over, and it's not enough to say no, is that we've had no opportunity to use the enhancements that have occurred over the past number of years, but now we have to pay for the upgrades for all those years that we still use the old product. So, do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, correct. That's unfortunately the way they did that. They actually wanted to charge us full price. I spent a fair amount of time, I'll call it strong arming to get where we are now. And I still wasn't, happy with the result, but that's the best that they would offer us at this point in time. So, I agree is that, it'd be nice to pay the current year plus maybe 1 year. But ideally, they figure the support and effort that goes into building their software, they want you to pay every year. And it's not unique to this product. It's unique to almost any product. They've all gone software as a service,
Okay, because I use very little, but if I have an operating system and then I choose to bypass or continue with that old one and go through 3 or 4 iterations and then finally want to upgrade my operating system, but I don't. This is different, and again, I'm not gonna say no, I'm with it, but it was a little annoying.
I agree with you. That's not on my end, it's on the Epicor side.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you, John.
Any other questions? Andy?
What's the, and I understand the pay in the back years, I agree with you a lot. Most software companies are going to that, but what's the difference if we were to just say we want to go buy the latest and greatest new and not do all of those back year payments? What's the difference in cost?
It would be 25,000 to buy it retail.
Okay, perfect.
And the
That's what-
competitors
yeah.
the competitors about half price for the platform, but then the implementation costs get it into the same ballpark of 25K, and then we have to retrain everyone on the platform. So we're kind of in this, I'll call it box, and I feel this is the happy medium to get us to the next level. That gets us, a year of support forward, and then, at that point, we can reevaluate whether we need to keep enhancing with this, $3,500 a year mentality, or whether we just, freeze in time like we did for a period of time. We could make that decision. Yeah.
Nancy, did you have a question?
Oh, thank you. Actually, yeah, I'm probably one of the least technology proficient people on the council. And that was my question, that we have to pay for services, for 5 years of services that we didn't have in order to access it for the next year?
So one of the issues, I guess, to get into the technical side of it, is the current server that's running on it is running an out-of-date operating system that's no longer supported by Microsoft, which is driving us into the new version of the software. In order to get the new version, we have to pay this back maintenance because we didn't pay it yearly to get us caught up, plus the current year to do it, to get it current so we can upgrade the server platform and the user experience. There's some enhancements in how the software works, if that makes
Okay,
sense.
Just follow-up question. Do we know why we didn't do it every year? Was there?
It was a financial concern by the old IT coordinator. We have always done IT on the cheap in the town. And sometimes it comes back to bite us in the butt like it has right now. And that's was the answer, is that the IT coordinator did it on the cheap and understood what he needed to do to make it work. But now that we're past the server and Microsoft the operating system on the server, we have to move to the next level.
Thank you.
Barbara, excuse me.
And also, I'm assuming that like other upgrades, you have to load all the back upgrades as well, because each upgrade is based on what was already there.
Correct.
Correct.
Unless we start all over again,
Yeah,
then
which-
we'll
yeah.
get hit with implementation
So that's
costs.
why we're being charged all the back charges as well, because now they have to send through all of the upgrades that have occurred since the last time we bought it.
Correct, and then there'll be a series which is included in that of support and troubleshooting and training exercises for the users.
Okay.
Because it's gonna work very similar, but it, have some
they'll be
enhancements
different.
and trying to get everybody through that.
Yeah. Thank you.
So,
So just so our public understands, we're not just throwing numbers out. You were able to negotiate, or for some reason they're offering a 50% discount on the annual renewal. So it would have been $35.88 per year for those past 5 years.
correct,
They're giving us a discount so that it comes out to $8,970 for those 5 years, which is somewhere in the order of $1,700 a year. And then we're gonna pay the $35.88 annual fee for the upcoming year.
correct.
Is that correct? So,
Yep.
so the 12,558 is significantly lower than the 17,940 plus the 3588. We would have ended up paying if we didn't at least get that discount. And from my experience in business, in the industry, this is not an unusual thing to end up paying an annual fee. Whether you end up paying the back fee is always negotiable, because you haven't cost them anything, but they've been putting stuff into the software each year, and so you're kind of like buying into the system to back it up. And so I think it's good that they at least gave us that discount, and appreciate you working on getting us there. Any other questions?
on one note, like moving forward, once we're current, they do have different platforms for the renewal. So we can do software only or software plus support. We do not have that option right now because we're not current. So if we find that we're not calling in and utilizing their support, we can negotiate at renewal to go to software only support, which will be able to maintain the software, and then we can pay per incident if we did need support. And I think that's the model that I would lean towards, because I am familiar with this platform. I've used it before in a few enterprise environments, so I don't see that the support will be needed. But I think the initial support's needed for our staff from the training perspective and making sure that everything goes smooth with the upgrade, because we have a lot of documents in the system, and we want to make sure that we maintain those,
Yeah,
because a
we
lot
wanna
of
keep
effort
them
went
all.
into scanning.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote on authorizing the $12,558 expense out of the capital reserve account.
Motion?
We'll need a motion to do that, yes.
You look like you're ready.
Yeah. Did you have
No, no,
something?
go
Go ahead.
Then I'll move the council authorize the information technologies request to withdraw $12,558 from the Computer Capital Reserve Fund for the DocStar renewal.
Second.
Is that good enough? Do you need it repeated?
Do you want me, yeah, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't have my
Go
mic
ahead
on.
and, go ahead and
I will
repeat
do it
that.
again, I apologize. I move the council approve the information technologies request to withdraw $12,558 from the Computer Capital Reserve Fund for the DocStar renewal.
That motion was made by Finley and seconded by Barbara. If there's no further questions, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? That passes. Great, thank you. 700.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thanks, Jonathan. Don't go away.
Oh, really? Don't go anywhere.
You can actually
Um,
come and sit up there.
Now we have, number 2 is a credit card implementation discussion submitted by Finance Director Thomas Bolin.
So,
Town Council
oops, sorry.
to discuss and consider, a proposal to equip the finance, code enforcement, solid waste, and wastewater departments with the hardware and software required to start accepting credit card payments for transactions such as ambulance fees, permits, inspections, applications, dump fees, compost fees, etc.
So, just a little background for the town council. Diane has been accepting credit card payments for a number of years now. And when that first came out, there was some residents that came out and said, why can't we get them here, here, and here? And as finance director at the time, I was a little leery. I wanted to see how it worked and move forward. Well, one of my goals before I was leaving finance was to implement this process on credit cards because I saw what the security was that Diane had. I saw that we were not storing any credit card numbers here at Town Hall. They were all stored at our OCR processing sites. As many of you know, cash has been a lot less. People are with the bank cards now. People are using their credit cards now. They're not carrying a lot of cash. So when they go to a transfer station and have to pay for a dump fee, for the dump fees or for computer or things of that sort, they were getting, well, can you take a credit card? No, we take cash or a check. So people are leaving with the items in their car and then either having to come back again or that we were finding them in other places. And then wastewater, when we went COVID really pushed this farther along. Because when we went to COVID, some of the haulers and some of the residents who were at wastewater would usually pay by cash or a check. And we had to add an extra step in the process because we didn't want the interaction with the public there because it was open-faced. So we added an extra step in the process to get payment from the haulers and some of the haulers and some of the residents. And they were asking for credit cards as well. As always in finance, we receive a lot of requests to pay ambulance bills. People have FSA cards and things of that sort that they want to pay their ambulance bill with, and they come to the town and say, hey, look, I had an ambulance bill, my deductible was $1,000, I want to pay it on my card. What we used to have to do is we used to have to run over to Diane's office, put it on her machine, she'd actually have to print out a check. The check would then come to finance, and we deposit the check as part of the ambulance. So this will cut out some of those costs and some of the running around as well. And then the last one is code enforcement. People, like I said, are not carrying cash anymore. They want to put everything on a credit card or on one of their cards. Businesses have corporate cards that they would rather do it. They like getting the points on a lot of this stuff. They like getting the points, so
Yeah.
they want to put on their card, get the points, and then pay it later. Parks and Rec is not on the list because Parks and Rec has a different credit card system that's built into their day camp software that they use. So they do accept credit cards as well. So that's a little bit of background on the credit cards.
You have a habit of stealing the thunder.
Well, no, they got a lot more
Yeah,
thunder
yeah.
because they're going to explain how it works.
No, he pretty much stole that from me.
Okay, Tom.
But this is something that we have been looking at for quite a while. That's okay. That's all right. Not a problem. And then once Jonathan joined us, we kind of looped him into the fray to kind of look at things from a technical standpoint as to how the different options that we were trying to evaluate would work with our existing technology. So what we had concluded was that we want to use the same platform that Diane is using in the tax collector's office from the same company, Interware Development. They have a virtual terminal that we would use for this purpose. The fee structure would be exactly the same. The fees that we were passing through to the users, to the residents, and the people paying their fees and for their permits and whatnot. It's 2.79% convenience fee with a minimum of $1.50 per transaction. So that is the same structure that they have in the tax collector's office. We thought that was a benefit, and we're not going to have different fee structure in finance than you'd have if you're overdoing business in the tax collector's office, because that might be confusing and
That would be very
irritating to
rude,
people.
yeah.
So we thought that was a big benefit. This other software, we've seen it in use in the tax collector's department, and they seem happy with it. So that obviously gives us some comfort. It also happens to where we would be able to integrate it with software that we're already using at the transfer station and at wastewater. So overall, this just seemed like the best way to go. We do think the residents would be happy with having this as an available option to them. We think the fee structure makes sense, and we like the fact that it'll be consistent. So we're asking, there is some hardware costs involved, but that's hardware costs have been coming down over the years, so it's gotten to the point where it's not a huge undertaking to get the actual physical card swipe terminals. They're $575 each, so we're talking about getting 4 of those for $2,500 or whatever. So there's also a $60 maintenance fee that's optional, but really probably makes sense for a small fee. You're guaranteed that if you have issues with a terminal, that they'll swap it out for you and send things overnight, so you're not dealing with long downtimes of having to replace. And then you get the ability to upgrade to newer technology when that becomes available. So we think that would probably be a good and wise thing to do as well. So
Especially in the environments that they're going into. Especially in the environments they're going into. Wastewater,
Transfer
solid
station.
waste,
yeah.
even code enforcement.
Finance?
Finance, they'll probably get thrown a bit small, but no.
Yeah. So we'd be happy to answer any questions if you have.
Okay.
I
Nancy?
don't have any questions. I think it's a no-brainer. I think our experience with the tax collector, that was our pilot.
Yep.
And we've learned the benefits and probably some of the limitations. And I think being consistent in any future with the past is also as well. Good. My question is, does the motion have to include money allotment for what has to be spent?
No, actually, we have the readers right now, and we're gonna put them on. We're just looking for approval from the town council to accept, that we can start accepting credit cards. So, what motion would be, town council approves the use of credit card, accepting credit card payments in code enforcement.
Finance, code enforcement, solid waste, and wastewater departments.
Correct.
So his and mine is the motion.
Okay.
Do we have to
Floor,
say
seconded
anything
by-
about the fee structure, Paul? Or- Okay.
Yeah, that was my question. Whether we needed to do that.
No, because the fee structure may change, depending on volume. The fee structure may change. And
But
that's
is
one
the-
thing.
But in the motion, there's an assumption that it will be the same
The
conditions
convenience
as
fee
the
will
town
be,
clerk.
yeah, a friendly amendment will be, and the convenience fee will be passed along to the consumer.
There.
So Nancy's made the motion. Does somebody want to second it? Barbara seconded it, and it's open for discussion. So Barbara?
I'm sure it is. I'm not familiar with this particular platform, but it is PCI DSS compliant.
It is, yeah, so, they actually have a unique, I spent a lot of time with them, kind of grilling this question, because I'm very sensitive to those items. So, it's a external terminal, something similar to what you'd see at a grocery store. They're a little more sophisticated, so that is an Android-based device. It runs a custom application that hooks onto their website, so it's not even directly, like, connected, it's only connected at the time of transmit. The virtual terminal runs on any computer that we load the software on, so you can log in with your credentials, punch in the name, the amount of money, and then it sends the transaction amount to the device, which would sit on the counter. You put your credit card in, it goes right up to their site, it's all encrypted, and then it's done. It doesn't store anything on the device. So, I was pretty happy with the way they built it, and I think it's safe to use.
Nancy Murphy? Did you have a question? No, okay. Lon?
I just want to be sure I'm not reading something wrong. In the third page or whatever, your backup, it mentions visa rules. And my question is, are all the myriad of credit of the national MasterCard, Visa, Citi, are
Discover,
they all accepted by the system, or is it limited to Visa?
Yeah, that was
Or
one
am I
of the.
reading VISA wrong?
Correct, so you're absolutely right in reading that. I spent a tremendous amount of time going through all these different companies, evaluating these different government platforms. One of the items with the convenience fee, Visa has some restrictions. So the eGov platform, which is what we use in the clerk, they actually have authorization from Visa. So that made it somewhat, even though they have the better platform for what we're doing and we're already using it, it fits that mold so we can accept Visa, MasterCard, Amex. I don't think there's a restriction on the card type. I couldn't find one on any of the documentation. They said that randomly there could be some specialized card that doesn't read on it, but if that's the case, they said it might have to be manually entered, but there's no restrictions if it's a MasterCard, Visa, Amex. Those are the most common in this area.
The Visa rule is that you cannot have a convenience fee on a utility bill. So if I was paying Eversource with my Visa card, they cannot charge me a convenience fee. That's really what the Visa rule is. But they
Thank you.
will accept payments for everything else. And we're not having utilities, so it wouldn't apply to us.
Yeah, Finley?
The company that offers this,
You're not on.
that's the second time tonight, sorry. Do we, it's not even necessary for tonight, I suppose, but E-Reg and those items where you could do your transactions online, did we expand that to take it for other items as well, like dog license and all? I know it doesn't really connect completely with this, but I think it's the same company that offers those services, and we talked about it at one point, so I didn't know it would make it easier for people to do those things online as opposed to coming into town hall to swipe their card here. I don't need it for tonight, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's something we're considering, but it would be kind of a next step in the process.
Okay, thanks.
I don't know exactly about dog license in Finley, but I'll get you the answer.
Boats, I know boat
Boats.
registration.
I'll get you the answer about what E-Reg can, from Diane, what she can accept,
Yeah.
and I'll get it out to the council. I don't know that off the top of my head,
Thank
sorry.
you.
Okay.
Sorry about that, I just saw the name of the business and just knew they connected.
Okay.
Okay.
So there's, currently, it's a 2.79% convenience fee that goes to the processing person. Merrimack doesn't collect any of that convenience fee,
That's
correct?
correct, goes directly
Okay.
to the
And that's
processor.
$1.50 minimum, there's no other fees? I mean, there's a bunch of things listed here for online only and stuff like that. per
Which we're not,
transaction and
which
stuff.
we're not doing at
We're
this
not doing
point,
any of
and,
that, okay.
yeah,
Just wanted to check. And
Yep.
so you're looking at approximately $2,500 in expenses to, which you've already expended to be able to buy these. They're only $5.75 apiece.
correct.
And lifetime expectancy of a machine, how often do you think we'd have to replace them? Have we had to replace any at tax collectors?
I'm not sure if we've had to replace any, I'm not aware that we have.
Okay.
And if
Great.
we had, it was all underneath the warranty repair, if we,
Yeah, if you pay
like
that-
maybe one, but
Yeah.
none of the other ones that I know of.
And the maintenance fee is fairly modest, so that's
Right.
a good thing. Any other questions anybody has?
So,
Go ahead.
Just a quick one, so the $60 fee, doesn't give you the new unit, it just turns around fast, you have to pay for the new unit if something goes wrong with it?
No, it's a replacement plan.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
that's
they
kinda what I
either
read, which is-
repair it, or send next day. They're probably not gonna repair it, they said they usually just send one next day. It's faster, they know it works, and then they get you up and running. And, you know, the nice thing about that is, say we go 3 years out, and that unit's no longer made, whatever the current model that replaces it, they're gonna send.
Yep.
As long as we stay current with the maintenance.
Touche.
We just went there, didn't we?
Yes, yes, we do.
If there's no other questions, we have a motion to accept, to begin accepting credit card payments at the wastewater, solid waste, finance, and
Code.
Enforcement.
code enforcement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? That passes 700. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Jonathan.
Now you can escape, Jonathan.
You can escape, Jonathan, but Tom still has to stay with us.
And Philly, I won't steal his thunder.
And next on our agenda is our first quarter financial review submitted by Finance Director Thomas Bolin. Finance Director Thomas Bolin will review the key financial information of the quarter ending September 30th of 2021. We're already through that.
Oh, bear with me for 1 second.
First quarter 2021, 22 PowerPoint.
Yeah, I'm just, that's what I was missing. Voila, okay. It is time to look at the recap of our first quarter financial results.
Just in time to get started on next year's budget.
Exactly. I will say that while there are a few things that I think we need to keep an eye on, which I'll highlight as we go through here, generally, I think first quarter was met expectations, and we're in good shape, at least as far as that takes us. So typically what we do is look at some of the major expense items that we deal with. We look at the trends over the last several years, and then we look at where we stand with the current year budget. So the first area that we typically look at is health insurance costs. Nice to see that the bar to the very far right shows a little bit of a dip compared to the prior year, which we expected. The rates from Health Trust did decline slightly for the current year, as well as our mix has shifted a little bit. We've had some longtime employees that have retired or moved on, and we've got some younger folks with less families and whatnot that have come and changed that mix a little bit. So the result is that our healthcare expenditures have come down a bit, not significantly, but better than going in the other direction. At $778,000 through the first quarter, that puts us at 22% of our annual budget of a little over $3.5 million. So we're certainly looking in good shape as far as the health costs go. New Hampshire Retirement. Unfortunately, the bars on the far right of this chart are significantly higher than the prior years, but we knew that was going to be the case. The NHRS rates, which are typically locked in for a 2-year period, we were notified that they would be increasing significantly beginning this year, and they're going to be the same going forward for the following year. But we are, as I said, we expected it, we knew it, and we budgeted for it. So we've got total New Hampshire retirement costs through the first quarter of $763,000. That is 23% of our just under $3.3 million budgeted amount. So we're right on track and a little bit under even as far as NHRS goes. Looking at overtime costs for the first 3 months. And as is always the case, the fire and police departments kind of dominate here. Obviously, their overtime is much less predictable and controllable. We're going to do what we need to do with those departments to provide the services that we need to offer for the most part. So fire department overtime is slightly ahead of even last year's elevated pace. And police overtime is up as well. We have been, for the most part, backfilling a lot of absences during this first quarter of the year. We have some unfilled positions, and we've had a fair amount of people out on either workers' comp or disability, and the result has been that we've had to backfill those absences, and it's resulted in some significant overtime expenditures. If you look at where we are by department, I guess, general government is, we're at 6% of our annual budget, so we're fine there. Fire is at 36%, so we're over. Police is at 32.5%, again, over. Communications is at almost 62% of the annual budget through the first quarter of the year. And that's another case where we've had a number of open positions and people out, and so we've been backfilling those absences. Highway overtime is only at 3% of budget, but we haven't gotten into the season yet where highway incurs all their overtime in the winter for plowing purposes. So you wouldn't expect us to be too far into that number, and we aren't. Solid waste is at little under 39% of their budget. So that is trending higher as well, and really for the same reason. that we've talked about. And all other departments are at 16% of their annual budget, so we're okay there. So overtime is something we've got to keep our eyes on. But at this point, I don't have a significant concern about how things are gonna look as we get further out into the year.
The other thing that the council needs to keep in mind, and the residents need to keep in mind, is that the first quarter is July, August, and September. And July and August are heavy vacation months. So there's a lot of front loading. You can't take the overtime and say 25, 25, 25, 25. Because as Thomas said, highways overtime really doesn't begin until December, January, and February. Where police and fire, I've had 3 or 4 vacancies in the police department most of the summer for patrolmen. And then fire department, there's been significant amount of people out with injury. Communication got hit with the sick bug, so to speak. So we had to cover a lot of those shifts because got a dispatch. So we had to cover a lot of those shifts with overtime. One other thing about solid waste for everybody, and I say this all the time, is the reason why solid waste overtime is so high is the gentlemen they get to backfill to help them out on a Saturday are highway workers. And they have already worked their 40 hours. So they're coming in on 8 hours of overtime. Anytime solid waste needs help, they're bringing people in. Those people are on overtime to begin with. And that's why their budget is a little bit higher. It baffled me for years how, when we budgeted, they were always over or very close to being over on their overtime. And I realized that after a while, after looking at who was working, it's because when they bring somebody in from highway to work at solid waste, they already got their 40 hours on Saturday, where the transfer station works Tuesday through Saturday for their 40. So, and the highway works Monday through Friday. So that's why solid waste sometimes is a little bit higher. And we keep an eye on solid waste to make sure they're not over the top with overtime.
Andy?
So with fire and police being over, and you say that's a seasonal trend, does it concern you when you look at the entire budget year where they're at right now?
No, because I have other savings. With the 3 openings in police, I have some savings in salary dollars for that. As you know, we just appointed a new fire chief, and looking at this, if I take out what we're paying to cover guys that are out on workers' comp or short-term disability, they are pretty good. They're with a little high. They're in the high 20s, but nothing alarming, so to speak, with their overtime rate. Instead of what I think Tom said, 36?
Yeah, 36.
36. So yeah, if you take out what, yeah, they'll be in the high 20s, 28, 29%. I don't have the number. I looked at it earlier today. So yeah. So I'm not overly concerned. It's something that we keep an eye on every year as we go through this.
Okay.
And this might give you a little bit more comfort, Andy, as we look at, this slide's got a lot of numbers on it, but this lays out all the departments and compares the first quarter expenditures to the full year budget. So this is looking at total appropriations for all departments as opposed to just focusing on overtime or insurance or
Tom,
retirement.
You didn't include that page in our package. Was that intentional or?
It was not. I thought I sent the slides and then I sent some Excel spreadsheets. I don't know if you got the Excel spreadsheets.
We did not get the spreadsheet, we just got the slides.
I apologize. I should have. I realized that I left it out of the slide deck and stuck it in
Okay.
after
well,
the fact.
Maybe you could
But-
ask Becky to make a copy of that for us? Just-
Sure, absolutely. Okay. But this compares where we're at by department through the first quarter of the year. And really, if you focus your attention on the first 4 columns of this spreadsheet, we've talked about encumbrances in the past, and encumbrances are kind of muddy up the works a little bit. We can talk about them more if you want, but I'd prefer to probably focus on just the first 4 columns, the annual budget, the first quarter expenditures, and then the next column just takes the remaining balance, so it subtracts the first quarter from the annual budget to show you what you have left, and compares it as a percent of the annual budget. So obviously, through the first quarter, you would hope that you're 75% or better of what you have left for your annual budget going forward. And you can see, for the most part, we do hit that threshold pretty much across the board, with the exception of a couple of areas where there's some unusual nature to them because their expenses are front-loaded. The welfare department, you can see, has only got 46% of their annual budget left for the year, but the welfare department pays out those health services contributions at the beginning of the fiscal year, and that's a big portion of their budget. So that's why that number is skewed a little bit. Similarly, with debt service, just the timing of the payments are not spread out evenly during the year. So we pay twice a year, and one of the first payments is due in the first quarter. So we're at roughly half the budget on debt service, but that's really where we should be. So overall, this gives me a pretty good comfort level that at least through the first quarter, things are looking good.
Okay.
And then if we look at the revenue side, we're in good shape as well. If we ignore the first column of interest on cash reserves, and talk about building permits and auto registrations, building permits is actually up pretty significantly from where we've been at through the first quarter of the last few years. We're at $80,000 through the first quarter. We budgeted $180,000 for the year, so we're already at almost 45% of the budgeted figures, and expect that we'll be in fine shape as far as that goes. Auto registrations have dipped slightly from where they were a year ago, but as we know, auto registrations have been kind of going bananas for the last, certainly last year and even prior to that. So while we're down slightly from last year, we're still looking good in terms of what we've budgeted for the year. Our budget figure for auto registration revenue is $5.625 million. And at $1.5 million through the first quarter, that puts us at 26.7% of the budget. So we're pretty much right on track, slightly ahead. I even looked at October because I keep hearing from Diane that, the activity has slowed a little and there just aren't new cars out there to be purchased. But apparently there's still plenty of used cars because we're still bringing in, even looking at the month of October, revenues were just over $500,000 for the month, which is right on track with what we've got budgeted for the year. So I'm not concerned yet. We may even if things get squared away, which I don't know when that will happen, but there may be some pent up demand for new vehicles that we see towards the end of this fiscal year, or if not into the following year. But and the story with interest is the same as it's been. We're not making much money on our cash reserves, and
But we didn't expect to either, right?
we did
So-
not expect to. And I don't know. I mean, that will change at some point, but it may not be in this fiscal year, or not until towards the very end of it.
So I wanted to say something on building permits. While we had a very strong first quarter in building permits, we had a lot of bigger projects come through and pay for their building permits. We are very comfortable with $180,000
For a final number.
for a final number. I don't see us getting $80,000 a quarter going forward. There was a lot of projects that people came out over the summer and did, found the contractors. There's a lot of money that was saved up because of COVID, that they did projects in their house and things of that sort. We had several large complexes come in with the building permits and things of that sort. I am comfortable with the $180,000. I just don't want people to say, well, it should be 360, 80 a quarter. I don't see this trend continuing going forward, but I do think we'll get $100,000 over the next 3 quarters.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? No, it sounds like we're doing pretty good. Appreciate your putting this together. If you can get us that one sheet, just so we can see the numbers
Yes.
a little bit easier than on the screen.
Right.
That'd be awesome, but I appreciate the inputs.
All right. Thank
So
you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Which brings us to minutes. We have minutes from October 28th of 2021 for approval. Anybody get a chance to look through those? Barbara?
Yeah, the only thing I bumped into, and I don't know if it's on my copy only or your copy as well, but when you get on page 1, line 23, there's a red line that goes through it.
Yeah, I think that was, that might be a copier issue,
Okay,
because it's on all of them, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
it's
could be
very
a
faint on
copier issue.
mine, but yeah, it's
yeah,
there.
it's very faint, but it's there.
Yeah.
And I don't want the official record to be misconstrued as that line being crossed out.
Nope, and I'll double check that before we post.
I only showed on my first page.
Yeah, yeah, that's the only place it was.
Okay, so was that a motion to accept the minutes?
I do.
Motion by Barbara. Seconded by Nancy. Any other comments or changes? Nancy Harrington?
I do have a question about something in here because I wasn't here. Should I ask the question now or after?
Because you weren't here, or,
I
yeah,
was
you
not
were not
here.
here.
I just want to verify on page 6, there's a statement made about natural gas rates and electrical rates, that literally there was a 0 increase due to long-term contract. Is that accurate?
Yes, there is a 0, so what we're paying per therm for natural gas and what we're paying for kilowatt for electricity, I signed long-term contracts a couple of years ago with the vendor and then expanded some, kept on, when the rates were good. The gentleman, you weren't here, the gentleman that was here, Bart, I'd call him every so often and say, hey, how are the rates? Hey, I hear there's a glut of natural gas. Hey, what do you think we should do? And we would be signing contracts and getting those long-term contracts for 2 to 3 years with, so that we have that budgeting aspect of it. So
And
we
the
can
reason
do
I
it.
was asking, because I have heard that people who have signed up for the automatic gas payments, they've reneged on them. That it's, I'm not sure if it would be considered a contract, but, you know how you can sign up ahead of time? That they've said, no, we have to back off on that. Now it's whatever the increased price is. And I was just curious on whether we were in that situation or not.
I would hope that we're not, because the vendor we're using is a big conglomerate, and he bid this, and that was his bid.
Right.
So probably he bought futures way back when on our consumption, because they know how much we consume
Right,
for
right.
natural gas and electricity. And what they're doing is they're buying futures at that cost, so they're already pre-bought some of
Already.
this stuff.
So, but, which is why I asked the question.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a little different for a
Boy, we are
homeowner that,
lucky
yeah,
for both.
that are
Okay,
locking in.
so
the
that
natural
was, I
gas
was not
prices.
here, and that's why I wanted to ask the question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Did you have something, Finley?
Actually, Nelson Disco, he did say it, but I don't know that it was true. He said we got the footbridge from the state of New Hampshire.
Well, you said it, but it wasn't true.
Yeah, so I didn't know if we should just leave that because that's what he said. I've never thought about this before. Or if we should correct it for what is really, probably leave it as what he said, huh?
Can we put it in parentheses or something?
We actually received it from the city of Portsmouth.
We
Correct.
bought it from the city.
Yeah,
of
we bought it
Portsmouth.
from the city of Portsmouth,
Yeah.
yeah, $10,000.
10,000, yep. I
Yeah.
remember. Not gonna happen again.
So do you want to just strike that
Well, he did say it.
He said
I mean, he said it,
Do we just put an addendum?
Yeah,
but
notation
our
or
minutes don't
something.
have to be verbatim either, so.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he did talk about things.
Yeah, we could
We could
eliminate.
just say that he talked about the Sahegan River footbridge and that it's closed due to structural deficiencies.
And just delete that statement.
Yeah, that little segment.
Does that sound reasonable? Okay. Anything else anybody noticed? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote on the minutes as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstaining?
Abstain.
Nancy Harrington abstains. So that passes 601. Which brings us to comments from the, what does it bring us to? Comments from the press? Comments from the public? Comments from the council? Nancy?
Actually, well, everyone will probably say this, but I just want to be able to wish you a happy Thanksgiving to everyone in Merrimack, and I hope you enjoy the day, and I hope the weather cooperates, because I heard a little flurry going on in the future. But let's all enjoy it regardless.
Amen. Nancy Murphy?
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up and say thank you to all the residents here who have contributed to the Reach Across America effort that Jen DeFelice sort of coordinated. We have received a sponsorship of over 550 wreaths. So each veteran buried at Last Rest Cemetery will receive a wreath on December 18th at noontime. So the public's invited. I do know, too, that the Wreaths Across America convoy will also be going to the American Legion. And Barbara, you may have the specifics on that, but it's going to be a great event. So if people want to come out, it would be great to see everybody. And so thank you so much for that.
When would that be?
Hang on.
December.
okay.
The wreaths are December 18th at noontime at the cemetery.
The convoy is a week early.
The convoy.
It's after that, I think. I want to say the 19th.
I was gonna say it was before, but I can,
I think it's December 19th. or
Yeah.
something.
I know I put it on a calendar, it's probably the other one.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll have meetings between now and then,
Yeah.
so we can bring it up again.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Lon? No. Barbara?
Yeah, I just want to, as Nancy did, wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and just remind people that on Thanksgiving Day is the turkey trot, the 5K turkey trot, which will start at 7:30 at the middle school, and it should be done by about 11 o'clock. So, come on out and watch the runners or walk it yourself. Also, starting on Saturday, November 27th at Watson Park, the Christmas trees will be arriving. And they will be available for sale, and the hours are posted on the Rotary, Merrimack Rotary's website and page in Facebook, so you can see that. They're going to have, for all of you people who are really into trees, they're going to have Fraser and Canadian balsam trees, and also one that's a hybrid that's called silver. So I had my Christmas tree introduction this morning. So trees are available until they sell out, so get yours early, and all the proceeds go to charity. Thank you so much.
Anybody else? So we all do wish everybody in Merrimack a happy Thanksgiving, and hopefully the weather will hold out. I keep getting hints from people across the country that they see that big things are coming, but I can't find anything in my weather forecast, so we'll see what happens there. We did have a great time at the Matthew Thorpe Memorial dedication on November 7th. It went very well, and I think there was even a piece put on our Merrimack TV that described about how it went with the gun salute and everything that went on with it. It was really nice. If there's not anything else, Lon?
I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion by Lon and seconded by Barbara Healy to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? That passes 700. Good night, Merrimack. Thank you.
That's a record.